Good morning, everyone. It's especially fitting that we consider a suffrage memorial today because yesterday marked the 100th anniversary of this chamber's passage of the 19th Amendment, which granted women the right to vote. And this August is the 99th anniversary of the ratification of that constitutional amendment.
So the Belmont Paul Women's Equality National Monument was created as a national monument in 2016, but it has been the headquarters of the National Woman's Party since 1929. Before the National Woman's Party moved to the Belmont Paul House, where it stands now, our headquarters was actually where the Supreme Court is today. So we moved from that spot where the Supreme Court was over to where the Belmont Paul sits now. So that location right there on the hill, the suffrage movement, the women's equality movement has existed there in the heart of the hill for 100 years. People who are traveling that trail of women's history around Washington, D.C. can have access to this statue. The Belmont Paul Women's Equality National Monument, it's only open from 9 to 5 on certain days of the week, right? But this statue will be accessible to the public, to children, to young girls, to be able to see, to experience, to witness. You can walk all the way around it, no matter which part of the statue you're standing on, it tells a story, and it will be there to tell this public history of this movement for women's equality in a way that has never been told before. And that is so powerful and so important. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Laymon. It's your understanding there is no other outdoor statue in honor of the suffrage movement here in our nation's capital.
That's exactly right, yeah. So there is the Belmont Paul Women's Equality National Monument, but other than that, no. So part of the work of the commission over the next year is to make sure that governments, local communities, municipalities are doing everything that they can to lift up this history, because women's history just doesn't get told and it doesn't get taught. And so we have a huge challenge in front of us, not just to tell the story of women's suffrage and the fight for the ballot, but to change the way that we teach and approach American history in this country. So it's a pretty big mission. We're going to do it in the next year. But your question speaks to the challenges that we face, right? There is no other monument in Washington, D.C. right now dedicated to this history. And of the monuments that we do have, very few are dedicated to women's history. This is so crucial and so important that in this moment, this centennial, that we do what we can to make sure that these women are recognized so that for the next 100 years, this history is taught and remembered and told.
Well, again, thank you, Ms. Laymon, and I really appreciate your testimony. Again, appreciate the work of the commission, and am hopeful that our colleagues here will support this important bill, a way to really honor the suffrage movement here in our nation's capital. Is long overdue, and of course, as a member of the Colorado delegation, to be able to honor the work done by our wonderful sculptor who's joined us today from the great city of Loveland, which is in my district. So I think it just across the board is a great proposal, and I want to thank my colleagues in Colorado for co-sponsoring it, as well as in particular with respect to this committee, my colleague Representative Laymon. So with that, I will yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Neguse.